Yo, what's poppin' YouTube? It's Q back at it again. Another edition of QueReviews. It's episode 7. Today we're going to talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I also want to thank you all for watching the previous video, showing support and commenting. Hope everyone's staying safe during this period of time that we're going through. And let's go ahead and talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is Quentin Tarantino's 9th film. It is, to me, one of his more grand films. Definitely a little similar to a Pulp Fiction. It's just one of those ones where I think that he took a little bit more time with the script and a little bit more time with the production to give us a better quality film, and almost like Django as well. And so this film stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, and just a lot of great actors that come in and just kind of do like quick cameos and stuff. And it also stars Margot Robbie as well. It's set in the late 60s. It's about this washed up actor, Rick Dalton. He's basically at his last leg in his acting career, and he's trying to figure out what to do next in Hollywood. And Brad Pitt plays Cliff Booth, his stuntman. It's incredible because you see this dynamic on screen of these guys who are friends, but you can clearly see the transaction in this friendship. And to me, I thought that that was one of the coolest things to see in a movie, especially with these two big name stars, because you don't really see that dynamic a lot in films, especially with big names like this, because it's like one would say, oh, well, Leonardo DiCaprio is bigger than Brad Pitt, but it's like some people would say, no, Brad Pitt is bigger than Leonardo DiCaprio. So it's like with branding, how do you say who's the bigger person, who's the main character and stuff? In this movie, we were able to see two main characters and they were each other's sub characters. It's insane. With that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the things that I like. The things that I like, to start off, I liked everything. Well, almost everything. I'll be completely honest, almost everything. It did a lot of things well. I think that it got the script well. They really got the setting well of being in the late 60s, early 70s. They just got it right. They made it look really good, really believable, like it was filmed during that time. The acting was really good too. Of course, these are established actors and actresses and directors and script writers. These are all established people that know what they're doing, and it felt good to see that on screen and understand that, oh, they know what they're doing and they're doing it well. It was one of those things I didn't mind paying to see that movie because I knew it's probably going to be done well. I think the complexity of the story was really good too. It does this thing where they kind of revise the story of the Manson murders. It's done so well where if you don't know the actual history behind what happens, it's almost like they rewrote history, not to degrade what happened to Sharon Tate and not to degrade the sickness behind Charles Manson, but it was almost to empower or almost to kind of shed light on reimagining a devastating situation and taking back that power. And I thought that was so cool. I thought it was a very interesting take on it as well. It's one of those things where it can go wrong. It can go terrible, but the way it was done, it was so extreme. I think Tarantino nailed it in the best Tarantino way. The direction of the film was just great. There was never a dull moment. There were times where like you could definitely feel the intensity is higher, but you didn't feel bored watching this movie because you really wanted to see what was going to happen with Rick. You wanted to see what was going to happen with Cliff. It was just one of those things where once we got to the final scene, you weren't relieved that it was the final scene. This is what we've been building up to. And I think it's really hard to get to that point in movies if there's not action sequence, if there's not a fight scene, if there's not a shootout or a car chase. This movie does really well with playing on dialogue rather than giving you flash, action, boom, just a bunch of filler stuff that you really didn't need. Another thing that I just really enjoyed was the final scene. It was incredible. It's the most Tarantino final scene I've ever seen. It's huge. It's everything that you want in a Tarantino film. There's blood, there's fighting, there's dogs, there's cussing. It's amazing. It's like, it's intense. It's really good. And it kind of shows you that Brad Pitt really has it. He really has it. And even like we all know Leonardo DiCaprio has it, but it's like I love the final scene because it showed that Brad Pitt really has that acting mechanism, that ability down where you can't write him off. You can't say that he's not one of the greats because he really is. I thought that was amazing. It was the best final scene in a Tarantino movie, period. So let's talk about some things that I necessarily, I won't even say hated. It's called Things I Hated, but I didn't hate this stuff, man. I wish it were a show. I thought that with it being in a movie, I think that you do digest a lot of stuff in one setting. I think I've seen it about 4 times now, and it's one of those things where I digest it a little bit more after watching it each time because I'm able to catch things that I didn't catch before. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just one of those things where if it were a show and it were drawn out over a 7 to 8 episode season, we would be able to digest it a little bit more easily. I hate that we have to compare it to other Tarantino movies. It's unfortunate because it is very Tarantino-esque. You definitely feel it, you definitely see it. It's alive and it's well in this movie. It can be compared to Pulp Fiction, it can be compared to Django, it can be compared to Kill Bill. It has that stamp of Tarantino right there on there. So it's just very difficult to say that, oh, this is in my top 3 Tarantino movies. The thing that I felt like this movie could have done a little bit better with is the limitation of Margot Robbie in this movie. I remember there was a few conversations that were held last year about this and about a few women in Hollywood that were, kind of marketed to be a star in a film, but their minutes were limited in the final product. And you definitely feel that in this movie. I definitely felt like we were going to see more of the Sharon Tate character and definitely more of Margot Robbie in this movie. And you don't get that. You don't get that element in this movie. It's just me being picky. But the Jet Li fight scene, I wanted more. I wanted so much more. I wanted those two to throw hands for like 50 minutes. I wanted it to be on the same level of Thanos and Captain America fighting in the end of Endgame, like that, because that was just such a good fight scene. And it's one of those things where we know we're watching a movie, but it gets difficult when you're portraying a movie in a movie about a movie. This one I wanted to see for about 50 minutes. It was just that good. And so those are really the only few things that I had an issue with. I give this movie a strong 9 out of 10. Highly recommend you watch this movie. It's so good. It does what it needs to do. It serves its purpose. It serves its purpose, and it does a great job of giving you a timepiece, but also giving you a clean look, a clean, classy look. It doesn't look old. It doesn't feel old. It feels timeless, and I think that that's such a cool thing. It's on Stars right now, but I would highly recommend buying the Blu-ray DVD combo pack. It's just really great. It's just that dope to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please comment in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on this movie if you have seen it or if you haven't seen it. Like, what are you expecting from this movie? Tell me, what do you think is going to be that 10th Tarantino film? He's been teasing this. He's been saying that his 10th will be his last. A lot of people say that it's gonna be Kill Bill Volume 3. Some people say it's gonna be a follow-up to Pulp Fiction. I would love for it to be a sequel to Django. What do you think is gonna be his final film, his 10th film? Yo, comment, let me know. Make sure to like, subscribe, share, click the bell button just so you get those notifications every time there's a new video. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Y'all have a good one. Stay safe. Be careful. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. Take care. Peace.